So good evening and welcome, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, September 10th, 2024. I'm Phil Santonci. I'm the program chair for section ASQ 1510 here in Southeast Florida. Everyone will receive an email for the RUs tonight, the recertification units for tonight's event, tonight's presentation, whether you're in person or virtual. If you're not already a member, we invite you to join our LinkedIn group, ASQ Southeast Florida Section 1510, to stay up to date with the section. This live event is being recorded, and the recording will be uploaded within a few days to the 1510 YouTube channel, which will also include a link to the slides that you'll be seeing this evening. Before our featured presentation tonight, we have a special guest. Elizabeth Myers has joined our meeting tonight. I will at this time actually ask Norbert Yorkchain, who's one of our board members, to introduce Elizabeth and to set the context. Thank you, Norbert.
Thanks, Phil. Good evening, everybody. Yes, as Phil just said, in addition to our regular scheduled program, we have an additional presenter. We have Elizabeth Myers, who likes to be known as Lizzie, who's our 2024 Orlando Acevedo Scholarship awardee. And she's going to spend a little time with us here this evening, giving us her presentation. A little bit about Elizabeth. She's an undergrad student at UF, University of Florida, probably close to the end if she's not done yet. Pursuing a BSc in Business Administration, majoring in management with a double minor in history and leadership. So Lizzie's presentation this evening is going to be about her essay, What Quality Means to Me. And it's a condensed presentation. We're going to have maybe just a couple minutes for comments or questions after. But Lizzie, the floor is yours. Welcome.
I really appreciate it. And I just want to thank all of you for your support. I'm really happy to be here tonight, albeit virtually. And let's just get started. So when I was writing my essay, I focused on three main pillars of what quality means to me, and I'll be going over them in this condensed presentation. But the first thing that came to mind was that quality isn't something that you think about consciously all the time, even though you experience it in every single interaction that you have. So it's not just products or services that your company may give to others, but it's how we live our lives, how we interact with people, and the relationships that we build. So it's about aiming for excellence, and it goes way beyond just the bare minimum. You could always fly by just doing the bare minimum and coast, but at the same time, it's really nice to test your limits and see just how far you can go, because you never know what's going to come out of taking a chance. So it's about balancing intention, effort, and impact, ensuring that everything that you're doing actually feels meaningful instead of checking a box. And it also leaves a positive mark on the people that are around us. At its core, quality really is a commitment to just showing up as your best self. And it's something that I hope that I and everybody else around me really does, that we do strive to apply both personally and in our professional lives. So the first pillar is understanding your strengths. Self-awareness is such a crucial part of this journey towards quality, because knowing what you're good at helps us figure out how we can contribute to the world around us. It's kind of like working in a group. If you know that you're a strong communicator, it makes sense to take charge of discussions or presentations. By leaning into these strengths, not only do we do the best work that we can, but we also build confidence in ourselves. And this journey really isn't static. It's a cycle of learning and growing. As we refine our strengths, we get better at adapting to new challenges, all while keeping the quality of our efforts high. And it can be something as simple as going to university, which people see as part of just a normal track in their lives. You go through high school, and to figure out where you want to go in your career, you have to go to university and select a major first. It's not just about getting the degree. It's the 4 years of your education and committing to that and taking all the classes required. That's what's so impressive about holding a bachelor's degree. So that's the first pillar. The second one would have to be consistency. Once you know what you're good at, you have to consistently show up. So be reliable, do what you say that you'll do, and do it well. That's how you build trust with others, whether you're working with a team, leading a project, or just maintaining friendships. Consistency is what allows others to feel secure and valued in every interaction that they have with you. So think about how you build trust with friends or colleagues by being there for them time and time again, You show that you're reliable, and predictability is a foundation for deeper, more meaningful connections. People know what to expect from you, and it makes relationships, both personal and professional, stronger and more rewarding. And then before moving on to the end, I want to talk a little bit more about empathy, because you have to understand that everybody has their own definition of what quality means to them. So what might be important to one person could be really different to somebody else. And that's perfectly okay. The world is full of different perspectives. Embracing that diversity, though, really enhances the quality of our interactions. When we're flexible and open, we make sure that we're acting accordingly and meaningful to everybody that we talk to, and not just ourselves and fulfilling our own self-interests. Adaptability is more important than ever in a globalized, connected world where we meet people from so many different backgrounds and experiences, and you can hop on a call and present to a bunch of strangers on a random Tuesday night in September. Beyond that, it's empathy. It has to do with listening, and that's what I really consider the third pillar. It's listening to others and you taking the time to hear somebody's perspective, showing that you value their input. So active listening, or simply showing genuine interest by asking questions, makes others feel appreciated. It's a really, really small gesture, but it goes a long way in building a more inclusive environment where everybody feels heard. So altogether, equality is about the impact that we have on others. And every interaction that we have really creates an opportunity for us to leave a lasting impression. So it's important to know your strengths, be consistent, listen to others, and be very empathetic. It's not about being perfect. It's about being intentional and present, and hoping that you leave people better off after engaging with you. But it's an ongoing process as well. It's not something that you achieve once and then check off a list as you would a degree or some other commitment that you might have. It's a journey that really asks us to fully commit. And by doing so, by committing to quality, we enrich our own lives, but we make an impact on the people that are around us. We create experiences that inspire trust, loyalty, and respect. And that's a ripple effect that goes far beyond just the moment in which you're having that interaction. That's my full take on quality. It's a dedication to excellence that, in the end, is really all about enriching human experiences and nurturing the bonds that hold us together. And thank you again for having me tonight. It's been really lovely. I'm now open to any questions or comments that you may have.
Thanks very much, Lizzie. Just before we open up to see if there are any questions, I just want to thank you again for being here today. Very interesting take on quality. Most of the people in these meetings talk about quality from a business process perspective, or manufacturing. How can we make this product better? Your angle on it, and that's what we're looking for, that kind of introspection and creative thinking. So looking at it from the angle of interpersonal interactions, there is quality in that as well. So thank you again for your submission and for being here today to present to us. That being said, any questions, comments from anyone, either here in person or virtually?
Oh, no,
Cannon, come on, you gotta have something. You're a star in this.
First of all, congratulations, Lizzie. And
Thank you.
I'm so happy to see you as a winner. Folks may know that in the past, I used to be a scholarship chair. And I think what's impressive is that not only you seem to write a good essay, but you also speak very well. So that's a great combination. That's a communication part you emphasized. I'm very impressed. All the best to you and to everybody else. Thank you so much. I'm glad the program is going very well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, Lizzie, I want to echo Norbert and thanking you very much for being here tonight, and congratulations on the scholarship and good luck to you. That was a great perspective on quality that you shared with us. So we're very glad to have heard that, and glad you're here with us tonight. Thank you again.
Thank you guys once again.
All right, so on to our featured presentation tonight. Our speaker tonight is one of our own, Bob Lloyd. He's the president of Lloyd Consulting Group and a member of the board of ASQ Section 1510. Bob is a Stanford-trained innovator and change agent, passionate about leading strategic initiatives that drive firms to excel in achieving their goals through deployment and successful application of leading-edge practices across multiple sectors and industries on an international basis, with an overall impact of over $2 billion. He has held global director and senior consultant positions at Motorola, Verizon, Citigroup, PNC, Johnson & Johnson, Kyocera, BlackBerry, and Aquin Financial. Outside of work, Bob served as chairman of the board of the South Florida Science Museum and Aquarium, and he also created a program for the Palm Beach County schools that motivated at-risk students to pursue STEM education and careers. Bob holds an MBA, master's in human resource management, and a bachelor's in mechanical engineering, as well as professional certificate in innovation and entrepreneurship from the Stanford Graduate School of Business. He's an ASQ certified Six Sigma Black Belt and manager of quality operational excellence, as well as a Motorola certified master black belt, Villanova certified lean sensei, and PMI certified PMP. Bob's presentation tonight is about SWOT. As you can see, SWOT analysis for tactical and strategic applications. So join me in welcoming Bob. Thank you, Bob.
Good evening. So SWOT analysis, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, is a great tool that companies can use for both strategic and tactical applications. And so I'm going to go through various aspects of it. First, for those people who aren't familiar with it, I'm going to go explain it in detail, tell you how it can be used, applications, and actually do some actual real life examples of how SWOT has been applied. Okay. So first of all, this is basically what a SWOT table looks like. Okay. 4 quadrants, and the upper 2 deal with what your company's dealing with. So it's strengths and its weaknesses. Okay, so the left side is positives and the right-hand side are negatives. The lower part of the quadrant of the square is external factors. So in this one chart or this one table, you can actually see both your internal strengths and weaknesses and the external opportunities and threats. So the strengths can be, what do you do well, okay, and how do you compare against your customers? What do your customers say about you? What do they like? What's unique about your product versus competitors? And do you have certain assets like intellectual property or unique processes and stuff like that? Weaknesses can be anything as far as areas where you're performing less than what your competitors are doing, where your customers are dissatisfied with the performance of your product, and areas where you're lacking skills or proficiency that put you at a disadvantage compared to your competitors. Okay, so that's dealing internally. Okay, externally, your opportunities are what are certain emerging trends that are occurring out there that you can take advantage of, and what strengths might be valuable for potential customers. So if you have certain strengths, how can they be applied to other customers, other than the ones that you're dealing with right now? They also talk about adjacent markets that you might expand into. Adjacent markets, if you look at the guy who sells My Pillows, well, he expands into other markets with sheets and what's that? Slippers. And slippers and all these other things. So your adjacent markets, where else can you expand your market into? What are your opportunities? And what geographic locations are where you can also expand into than where you currently are? As far as threats, you're looking at what is your competition doing? Okay. How can they get ahead of you? How are your weaknesses leave you vulnerable as far as to these threats? Potential market trends that might you not be prepared for. It could actually disrupt your entire market. Okay, if you were looking at this for back in the days when you're going from internet, okay, the threats on internet was taking the brick and mortar stores and making them obsolete where you don't have them anymore. Okay, so basically that's where you're trying to get a full view of your business opportunities and threats through a SWOT. More important, the very top thing up here is your objective. And a lot of people forget that because you can't really do a SWOT analysis unless you know what it is that you're trying to achieve in order to make all of the other items that you put down in it meaningful, okay, or focused on what your attention is. So the benefits of strategic planning is if you're looking of a SWOT analysis, like for strategic planning, to understand both the internal and external environment. Okay, it gives you the benefits of highlighting key areas of focus if you're going to try to make a decision. Okay, as far as identifying strengths and weaknesses, as far as making effective allocation of resources. And also, if you're looking at risk management, identifying potential threats and developing mitigation plans. So that this helps you achieve all those purposes through this diagram. So where can they be applied? Probably the most common application is business strategy. Like by understanding your internal strengths and weaknesses and the external opportunities and threats, you can develop a strategy for your company. Once the strategy gets developed, you can possibly roll that down throughout your company through Hoshin planning. But this is what you're going to start off with, trying to do strategies. That's one thing you can do it for. Another thing could be just project management. You could look at, here's where we want to develop certain skills for the company. And how are we currently disadvantaged by the current state? And what are our opportunities and threats to, in growing that? So you're looking at, this is our strength, this is our weakness. How do we overcome that? What projects can we undertake that'll strengthen our weaknesses and make use of opportunities to avoid the threats? Okay, so it could be internally from a project manager. So the upper one is more of a strategic, the lower one is more of a tactical application of SWOT. You can also use it for marketing. When you're looking, especially when you're looking at external, understanding what competitors are doing and where you currently have opportunities to grow. So you're looking at the opportunities and threats externally on that. The other thing is personal development. A lot of people don't think about that. You can actually use SWOT analysis to look at your career. So from a personal standpoint, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What opportunities are there out there? And what threats do you see? So if you're a software programmer, okay, and now you've got the prospect of AI, that could be a definite threat because AI could basically eliminate your job. Okay, so you can use this on a personal basis as well. Okay, so in selecting objectives, like I said, it's probably the most important thing when you're starting a SWOT is you want to develop a focus and clarity. What is it that you are trying to solve? Okay, so a clear purpose is to basically make everything relevant. You want to make that everything you're doing, putting on that map is relevant to what it is that you're trying to achieve. It also aligns what those tasks that you're trying to achieve within the organization. It also gives you actionable insights. So as you're looking at opportunities, what opportunities can I take advantage of? What strengths can I develop? I mean, what weaknesses can I overcome and stuff like that? So it gives you actionable insights on what you can be doing to improve your company. And lastly, it could give you measurements and evaluations. How well are you currently doing? If you're looking at strengths, what percentage market share do you have? And if you're looking at threats, what percentage market share do your competitors have? And in which direction are they going? So you can actually take measurements to evaluate performance. So how do you go and identify the strengths? There's numerous ways that you can go through. As a consultant, we will go through and utilize numerous tools in order to capture this information. So one might be internal audits. And you're basically going to review and assess your current capabilities, resources, and performance. So you would go in and you would interview people in the company. You would look at their performance data. You'd see how well they're performing. And like I said, this gets back to related to what your objective is. So whatever you're trying to achieve, you're going to collect that information in your internal audits to find out how well they're performing. You could do employee feedback. What do employees think? One thing is the data. One thing, there could be certain things as far as employee morale or other type of actual training or other things where you'd want to get feedback from your employees to find out how do they feel what the strengths are, where they feel weaknesses are, where can we make improvements and stuff. So employees are a great source of feedback. Customer, and the other one is going externally, customer feedback. What are the customers saying about your products? Are your customers happy What do they think is bad about your product? Where could your product improve? And I'm gonna go through with some real life examples of this later on, which will actually hit right into this customer feedback and what happens if you don't listen to the customer feedback. Benchmarking. So you're actually looking at performance of you versus competitors to see how well they're performing. So how do you know if you have a strength or weakness unless you know how well that is compared against competitors? So one thing is benchmarking to actually get a mark to find out how strong you are or how weak your performance is. SWOT, and then SWOT analysis workshops where you pull a bunch of people together and you go through brainstorming exercises to understand, to identify strengths and weaknesses. And in this case, you want to get people from various aspects of the business together so you get a full perspective. So common strengths could be brand recognition, your workforce, how stable your finances are, how advanced your technology is, and various other aspects, customer relationships, innovation, how many of your products are out of product, your income is coming out of products that were developed within the last 2 years. So it's a freshness metric. Positive company culture, or various others. I'm not going to read them all, but those are various common strengths that you would have. Looking at weaknesses is looking, again, customer feedback can also tell you where you're weak, areas that you need improvements. Employee surveys again, because the surveys will tell you both positives and negatives. Performance metrics. So this is actually looking at actually hard metrics from KPIs and performance data, okay, to see how well it's performing. Competitive analysis. That's looking at your externally competitors on what market share and how well are they doing versus you. So how are you underperforming your competitors? What features are your competitors offering that you don't have? Okay, so where might you be falling behind? And then again, internal audits to find out how the company is performing and getting this through performance data that your company has. And then again, those SWOT workshops again, where you pull people together and do brainstorming. So common weaknesses could be limited resources, inefficient processes, poor brand recognition, and again, all of the rest of these other examples could be examples of weaknesses. So that was internally. Now we're going to turn externally and look at the bottom half of that SWOT diagram, where you're looking at external opportunities and threats. So in that case, you're looking at market research. You're looking externally, and you're going to do market research to identify emerging trends and needs. So what are your competitors doing? Okay, what new technologies are being developed? Industry analysis, and again, that gets into industry developments. That could be developments in products. It could also be developments in manufacturing or other type of tools or methods that competitors are using. So it doesn't necessarily have to be just product. That could be how things are produced. Customer feedback. Again, what it is that customers are looking for. You're looking at opportunities to grow your company or opportunities to grow market share and sales. So what it is that customers want you to produce. Okay. Then networking. It's going to network conferences to hear other speakers on what's happening outside in trends in the industry. So networking is a great way to find out that information and develop potential partnerships. Again, SWOT workshops, on all of these SWOT workshops can be used to help brainstorm and look at opportunities. And then I know we say that the bottom half of the SWOT analysis is external, but you can actually include internal opportunities in it, because there might be things that you can do to improve your operations that might provide you improvements in your opportunities. So how to develop or enhance internal initiatives or capabilities. So improve efficiencies and stuff like that you could leverage to basically to use or leverage existing strengths in different ways. And of course, common opportunities. It could be market growth. You want to take the increase market sales, develop technological advantages, partnerships, joint operations and stuff like that, funding opportunities, and again, various other aspects of common opportunities. And lastly, to the last quadrant, lower right quadrant, we have identifying threats. So again, we're looking at conducting market research to understanding what competitors are doing and where they might be pulling ahead, and what what trends in the industry might cause you to become obsolete. So review competitor strategy. What are they looking at producing products? How does that affect with your product offerings? What are they doing from marketing campaigns? How are they marketing products? What's their pricing strategies? Are they undercutting you on prices and stuff like that? Monitoring the economic indicators. Are you heading into a recession? How is that going to impact your business? Looking at interest rates. Does your company need to take loans out, and how does that affect your ability to grow? Okay. Then staying updated again on technological changes, following the technological advances, and looking at those things that could disrupt your industry. And like I said, make your product and service obsolete, like when internet put the screws on brick and mortar stores. I'm certain that Toys R Us would have liked to run a SWOT analysis on this to figure where it was heading. Assess regulatory environment. That's another thing. What type of regulations or laws could impact your business? So the threats don't always have to be competitive. They can also be from legal and governmental as well. And this whole section here on economics and technological and environment are all part of the thing that we call PESTLE analysis. And PESTLE analysis, the P stands for political, E stands for economic, S stands for social, T is for technical, the second E is for environment, and L is for legal. So you can run a PESTLE analysis and understand what external factors would impact your business. So that would be a great tool when you're going through a SWOT analysis, to use PESTLE to understand all these different things. Like I just showed 3 examples here, but there's like a total of 6 different categories underneath PESTLE analysis. Then you conduct risk assessments to identify where your vulnerabilities are, and then also talk with stakeholders. Get insights from all sorts, from employees, customers, and suppliers, to understand how are they impacted going in the future, and what threats that you all might be facing, and work together to solve the problem. Common threats could be increased competition, technological change, again, regulatory compliance, and so forth. Okay, so those are areas where you can get information to populate the 4 quadrants of your SWOT analysis. So let's actually look at a real life case example. And this is one from Motorola from 1994. And the objective that they had is, how do you get products to market much faster and with higher reliability? So is this a strategic one? No, this is a tactical application of SWOT. So they're looking at, how do I get my products to market faster and higher reliability? So looking at strengths, Motorola Paging had solid technological roadmaps. They had research and development with leading edge product designs, and they had much higher reliability than any of their competitors. They were the best, they were the outstanding one in the market for reliability. However, that's their strength. However, their weakness is they were slow to get their products to market, and they were getting slower and slower. It was taking longer and longer to get products to market, and they were concerned about that. And they required numerous prototype passes to go through evaluation to meet requirements. And they even had problems making those reliability requirements, and they would use conditional ship waivers. So they might not have reached what their target was, but if they got to like 50% or 60% towards the target, management would give them a ship waiver to allow them to ship the product, even though they hadn't made target, which I always had a reliability. It always pained me when I saw that. So the opportunities that they had is how to utilize more computer analysis to make certain that the products are better before to try to get the product to market faster, so it would pass these tests. or utilize new testing techniques. Or the other thing is just increase headcount, throw people at it, which is not usually a good application. That just masks and covers up your problems. The threats were that the competitors were getting their products to market faster than Motorola. Okay, they had shorter lead times in getting products to market. And the problem is that speed could possibly allow our competitors to capture increased sales and market share. Okay, so this allowed us to understand what the situation was. This gave us a full picture internally, strengths and weaknesses, and externally, opportunities and threats. Okay, so now once you get to here, now you say, what do I do with this? Okay, so the analysis of the weakness, the first thing we looked at was that additional headcount, and more just to throw it out of the way, because we said throw an additional headcount at the problem just adds cost to the product, and with no guarantee that it's going to improve it. Okay, it's just going to mask the problem. So, and where would that added headcount be best applied? Put it in testing or put it in development? Where do you apply that to be most effective? And we said that's probably not the best approach to take. We looked at utilizing more computer analysis. But the problem with that is at the time when we were doing it, the computer analysis only exerted single stressors on the product. And in real life, your product was actually subjected to multiple environments out in the field. And so to be, and it resulted in interactive effects on the product. So it was a combination of, let's say, temperature and shock caused the problem. If you only did a single stressor, you were never going to find it. So we were limited on what was available on computer analysis at the time. So what we looked at is we utilized new testing techniques. And we did theory of constraints and found out that the product validation testing was the bottleneck in Motorola's new product development process. It was getting it through testing was the problem, okay? And there was a large queue waiting to undergo testing validation, and that queue was getting larger and larger. So this was kind of, we did a theory of constraints. And you don't have to go and figure out flows and stuff with that. Theory of constraints, all you do is look for where the queues are occurring, is usually the easiest way. Okay, so when we looked at that, the existing testing that we had took 3 weeks to run through the test. It was a serial test, go through 3 passes, serial, and we had test results each week in that 3-week cycle. And managers, and this is usually our biggest problem, managers would look at that and they'd see the problems, and they'd immediately want their engineers to develop a new prototype to address the problems they found in week 1, and then they throw that into the test. Okay, so the problem is for each prototype that we would submit in there, 3 sub-prototypes would be developed, and it was choking the hell out of the reliability level. And that's why it was getting worse and worse and worse, because these additional flows. Okay, so basically what we said is we had to get it down to 1 week. We had to do the test in 1 week. So how do we do that? So we looked at Shane and DOE. So we say something outside Shane and DOE ran parallel test flows where we cross over test samples. And doing that resulted in, not only did it take us from 4 weeks, 3 tests in a 1 week queue, down to 1 week with no queue, but it gave us 300% increase in detection capability of failure modes. And we implemented multiple, and then we also did multiple environment stress testing in there, such as drop testing the products at extreme temperatures. So you're dropping 5 feet onto concrete or steel at minus 10 degrees centigrade. And that allowed us, if it did survive that, it survived just about anything. Okay. And then the ALT results that we got were from archive units. We took 1,000 units and we put them in archive, and we take samples out and run through the test. And the reason why we did that, I don't think anybody else ever did this, is that the test, we were waiting for field data. It took us like 9 months to develop the test. We're ready to test it. We take these units that we archive from a specific week of manufacture, and by then, we actually had field data for that week of manufacture, which means we were isolating variables. So the same material, products, process settings, the workers, everything, design, everything was the same. We eliminated all the variables, and we were basically correlating our tests to the field, and we'd adjust the tests so that we'd have the same Pareto, the same modes and magnitudes, so we'd match it. So it was the only ALT test I know that was correlated to the field. Bottom line is the test resulted in a 3-week reduction in time to market. And it had compounding effect. So the first product got to market 3 months sooner. The next product got to market 6 months sooner because they could start that product 3 months sooner, and then the cycle time was reduced by 3 months. So that one got 6 months sooner, the next one 9 months sooner. It had a compounding effect. We saw a 67% reduction in field failures and warranty costs. We eliminated all post-production design changes and their resulting scrap and obsolescence because the thing was designed and perfected before we shipped it. And we eliminated those conditional shipping waivers, okay? Bottom line, the test was institutionalized across all of Motorola for a benefit of over $1 billion, okay? So this all started from doing SWOT analysis to understand where our problem was and how we had to basically address it. So the SWOT analysis fed in to this, but so this couldn't have been done unless we first did the SWOT, okay? So here's another SWOT. This one is more strategic. This is for Nike. And for Nike, and I'm not going to go to a lot of analysis on there, but they were looking at, they were trying to grow Nike's market share and sales on a global basis. That's what they were trying to achieve. So they had strong brand recognition. They had continuous innovation. They had a vast global distribution network. And they had enhanced brand visibility through endorsements and sponsorships of different events and stuff like that. Their weakness was most of their sales was in North America, and they wanted to grow globally. Okay. The other problem is they had higher price points than their competitors. So if there was a financial thing or price sensitivity, they might be at a disadvantage. And they also had past controversies because they were known for slave labor, like over in China and stuff. They had bad reputation for their labor practices. So that was their weaknesses. Opportunities, they were looking at China and India because had a growing middle class over there that they could possibly increase sales in those areas. Sustainability, they had eco-friendly sustainability approach on developing their products, and they felt that customers might be drawn to that. Okay, something positive. And digital transformation, they were looking at doing direct to customer sales over the internet, as opposed to going through stores. You could order it directly from them. Okay. Threats, intense competition from the other competitors, Adidas, Armour, Puma. If there's an economic downturn because of their higher prices, might impact the sale of premium products. And then there's also the problem with counterfeit products. Okay, it could impact their sales. I'm not going into the detailed analysis on Nike because I didn't work for Nike, so I don't know what the details went on behind it. But this was this SWOT analysis, strategic SWOT analysis they did looking at growing global market share. This one, unfortunately, I am very familiar with. This is a strategic analysis of SWOT analysis for Motorola. And basically gets into, well, it was mainly cellular, but it goes into the whole company. And the objective was to maintain market share while optimizing profit margin in an increasingly commoditized market. The strengths Motorola had, they were the market leader. They were the first to market with cell phones. And they had, in 1996, this is from 1996, they had a 64% global market share, okay, in cell phones. Economies of scale. They had numerous global design and manufacturing sites. Okay. And they had solid technology roadmap, massive patent portfolio, and they had experienced technology management. Most of the executives were chief technologists who would work their way up from the bench all the way up to senior management in the company. Their weaknesses. The entire portfolio consists of analog products. And customers were having problems with high monthly bills and battery life. And if anybody knew what analog cell phone was like in those days, your monthly bill was like $300, okay? And your battery life, you had to charge your battery at noon, you had to charge it after work, and you had to charge it before you go to bed at night. Because of the bills, there was no unlimited calling back in those days. You got charged for every minute that your phone time, air minutes, and whether you were initiating it or you were receiving it. So in order to maintain their price, customers would not give out their cell phone numbers. Everybody who had a cell phone had a pager. Paging business did great back then. And so everybody had a cell phone, had a pager, and you gave people your pager number. And they would call you in the pager, and you would screen your call, and then you would call them back. And it worked back then because caller ID had not been invented yet. So nobody could snag your number. Okay. So that was the problem with analog. Okay. The other problem, which goes hand in hand with it, is Motorola was arrogant in disregard for customers' insight. And I used to cringe every time I heard somebody say this from management. They'd say, the customer doesn't know what they want, we have to tell them. That was Motorola's attitude back in '96. The other thing is their sole distribution was service providers. And so there was a greater concern for the service provider than the customers. They were trying to satisfy the service provider more than customers. And they were slow to change due to corporate inertia. So they had massive, multiple multi-year products, and they had all this cost sunk into those products. So it was like trying to turn a battleship or stop a freight train. There was just too much inertia within the corporate. And the other thing is they had a growing non-technical management, which was actually getting more and more in charge of the company. When Chris Galvin took over in 1993, he decided that he wanted to bring in these Harvard MBA types in order to make the stock price look better. And these people were more concerned with short-term profits, and they were also fear of cannibalization and stuff like that. Opportunities. Motorola could have looked at the opportunity to change to digital. His digital protocol resolved issues with monthly and bill and battery life, and also provided the ability to do SMS, text messaging service, which analog didn't have the capability of. They could also engage external marketing firms in order to understand what it was, direct customer insights to find out what features drive sales, okay, and set themselves apart from competitors. The threats, Nokia was in the process of moving to digital. They're on the move to digital. Like I said, it increases network capacity by 5 times. Instead of analog transfer, digital takes up much less space. You can put 5 times as many users on the same space, and that allows you to drop your cost by 80%. It allows use of digital software that increases battery life by 3 times. Okay, and the whole thing with digital poses the potential industry paradigm shift of the whole industry changing. So you're looking at this SWOT analysis, and you say, man, it's clear what we should do from a strategic standpoint. Unfortunately, this SWOT analysis should have been done by Motorola, but it was not. Okay. The problem is you have to, when you're doing a SWOT analysis, especially when you're dealing in the weakness quadrant, you have to be totally honest with yourself. If you're not honest with yourself on your weaknesses, it's a waste of time. Okay. And because being totally honest allows you to understand and consider what your opportunities are to fix your weaknesses. Okay. What happened is Motorola's decision-making bias, they had authority bias or groupthink, where the senior management was telling them one thing and everybody would agree with it. Okay. There was confirmation bias. The testing that they did actually was done to confirm what management thought, not get true answers. There was that corporate inertia I talked about. There was fear of cannibalization. They said, if we go to digital, we're going to lose the sale of all our analog products. Okay, well, we did anyway. And then there's complacency, where they think they know better and they're not going to listen to the customer. And then there's the sunk cost. All this development, you already paid money, and consequently, nobody wants to kill a project after you've sunk so much money into it. So that's why they were stuck in this situation. So what did Motorola do? What was their problems? They sat there and rationalized their decision not to move to digital. They said digital audio quality is inferior to analog audio quality, and customers will reject it. And they said service providers will not want to change their networks from analog to digital because of the expense. And damn it, Motorola said that's our rationalization, and we're going to stick with that. Nokia looked at that, and Nokia said, what are you talking about, Motorola? If customers' monthly bills are reduced by 80% and their battery life is tripled, who Who cares about digital audio quality if there's even any difference, okay? And as far as service providers, they said once one service provider changes to digital and is offering service for 80% less expensive than the others, they all have to change over to digital anyway, or else they're going to lose their customer base. Everybody's going to leave them to go to the other one. So basically, between 1996 and 1999, the entire cellular industry shifted from analog to digital. And Motorola, who was not going to digital, saw their global market share decrease from 64% to 16%. And the cellular, the paging industry, which was used because monthly cell phone bills were so good, when they dropped the cost of monthly bills by 80%, the entire paging industry was wiped out because there was no need for pagers anymore. Not only that, you could also do texting on digital. So you didn't need pagers anymore. And Motorola in 2001 laid off 62,000 employees, like 43% of the company or more. 62,000 employees. If you don't do a SWOT analysis to understand what's going on and are honest with yourself, this can happen. That's why it's important to do this, okay? So this is a good argument of hiring external consultants to do SWOT analysis, because you basically need an objective perspective. So you want to have an unbiased viewpoint to conduct the analysis. And the internal teams have difficulty doing that because of they're too familiar, they're too close to the problem and can't see it, or there's internal politics. And if they do it, you know, their whole career could be jeopardized. If a consultant says it, then they just, you know, get rid of the consultant if they don't want to listen to it. But the bottom line is that's the best way to do it, okay? Consultants have expertise and experience because they've been across numerous industries, various companies, and can provide insights that could be applied within that company. Time efficiency. If you're sitting there trying to do your regular job and then trying to do SWOT analysis on top of it, and you haven't done one before, it could consume a lot of your time. But if you bring in a consultant who already knows how to do it, they can apply this, and you can be much more effective with your time doing this. Plus, the consultants have access to tools and resources that you might not. Like I gave an example earlier when I talked about the pestle analysis or various other tools which you can apply to be more effective in finding this information and stuff like that. And then fresh ideas and innovation, because they're coming from external. They have ideas that they can throw out. You know, sometimes people say, well, you know, we've never done it like that. Well, somebody who's coming from the outside might suggest it. And it's totally different because, you know, when I love going into companies, I'll ask them questions. I'll say, I might sound stupid asking this, and I'll ask the question anyway, because guess what? They might not have thought of it anyway, because everybody was so close to the problem, they never realized it. But you all of a sudden make the question, then it's like, oh, yeah, no, we never thought about that, you know. So fresh ideas and innovation can drive thinking. And then benchmarking, comparing their company to other companies, where you have a greater ability to do that. So let's look at I'm coming down the home stretch here. We're almost through. So potential issues of artificial intelligence, because if you thought that the internet had a big impact of disrupting it as a paradigm shift and disrupting things, artificial intelligence has an even more potential of disrupting the apple cart. Changing things. So artificial intelligence have increased efficiency. It can automate repetitive tasks for higher productivity and either use employees more effectively or reduce employees, enhance customer experience because you can apply tools that gather information easier. We do, sometimes we're doing market research, we'll do these social media listening posts where we listen to the communications on the internet. Well, AI can capture all that information, all the words being used and how it's being applied much more effectively than a person can do. So we can capture all sorts of marketing information through the social media listening posts doing that, you know, so it just enhances their ability to analyze customer research. Data-driven decision-making, again, can handle vast amounts of data. Let's see, innovation, utilizing certain tools and combinations can actually provide innovative techniques for developed products. I could do a whole presentation on that. I don't have time to get into it. And now the other risk you have is cybersecurity risks, in that it can be vulnerable to cybersecurity. So when we're looking at SWOT analysis with threats and stuff, you could consider that as well. And job displacements, as far as certain tasks being eliminated, okay, could create a problem for the company as it transitions. And high implementation costs. Let's see. So I'm showing a SWOT analysis. This is not necessarily a specific SWOT analysis for AI. What I did here was to put up more of a generic SWOT analysis on the upper part, because it's talking about specialized knowledge, skills, experienced workforce, high barriers to market entry and stuff, and your weaknesses there. The bottom, I actually do mention AI. So how the opportunities that AI presents and the threats that AI present. Okay, because that pretty much would still stay the same there. But what I want to get at is looking at how it impacts your company's internal strengths and weaknesses. So specialized knowledge and skills and all these things. Well, the problem, AI can provide knowledge and skills to everyone. You can instantaneously through AI have that capability and knowledge to do certain that might have taken your company years and years to develop that expertise. Okay, so that could be gone in a moment. Experienced workforce, again, it's kind of similar. The AI can play a level playing field, and can also automate a lot of tasks and stuff like that. A high barrier of market entry. So AI can eliminate that barrier, allowing more competitors in. Okay, because you don't need to have all the stuff that you had to develop. Now through AI, they have the ability to get into that market, and market entry much easier now. And then a highly satisfied customer. Again, AI enhances market research. And somebody applying, if you're not applying AI, but somebody else is applying AI, they might be able to understand market research, what would satisfy the customer better than you. Okay. Weaknesses, high operating costs and low margin. So AI can work on the other side, in that it can reduce the headcount and provide better utilization. To look at limited market expansion, AI enhanced market research could expand your markets, and AI can analyze vast data to uncover trends and needs that would help you with your innovation and stuff like that. So this is, you can look at how this could apply in SWOT analysis. You could actually go much more detail. If you're doing, the problem is we're kind of missing a objective at the top there. So, and it depends on what company you're in, what your situation is, and what your difference. If you want to do it for your company, we would sit there and develop the SWOT analysis and look at the objective in there. The frequency of conducting SWOT analysis. You basically conduct SWOT analysis typically it's a year, because as things go, it's not static. Things change, especially when you're dealing with external opportunities and threats. That'll change a year. So it depends, and it also depends on the company that you're dealing with. So the various size of the business, how complex your operation is, and what's the nature of your industry. So we recommend once a year, and if you have a rapidly changing industry, maybe even more often than that. So basically, a regular SWOT analysis ensures that your strategy is being relevant, and that they don't get stale, and look for new opportunities and threats. Okay, and that's basically so ready for Q&A.
Thank you, Bob. So what questions do we have for Bob?
Bob, a great presentation. A question, how often do you recommend redoing it, or is it on a case-by-case basis?
Well, like I was just saying right there, it all depends the nature of your business. I mean, if you're dealing in a fast-paced business that is changing rapidly, you'd want to try doing it more often. Typically, the average length is typically on a yearly basis.
Yep, I think the Motorola example was very solid, I guess, how you can lose your whole business if you don't do it well. Good job, good presentation.
Thanks.
Anybody else? Well, I got some for you. When I've done SWOT with many different organizations, it's usually the objective is usually for developing a strategic plan. Although there have been some other instances. But in many cases, especially in the opportunities and threats, somebody will come up in the room, we'll do it as a team, and somebody will brainstorm, well, here's a threat, and somebody else will say, well, that's actually an opportunity. Do you see that
Yeah.
very often?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's the advantage of that. We want to talk about SWOT workshops. That's even better because people have the opportunity to build.
Yeah.
Because then somebody says this, but it makes somebody else think of something else. So the SWOT workshops are actually really great because it has the building capability.
Oh, so you're talking, in many cases, then you're talking about SWOT as an individual or multiple individuals that put together strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats that they see, and then they come together, or is that what you're talking about?
Well, like I said, there's various ways of capturing the strength, weakness, and one of the you saw all four of those was running a SWOT workshop.
Mhm.
So a SWOT workshop, you wouldn't technically run a SWOT workshop on just one. If you run a SWOT workshop, you do it for the overall SWOT. And that's where you bring people from various parts of the company together.
Right.
And it could be different parts of the chain. It could even be supply chain and stuff in there. It depends on how broad you want to make it, but you bring them all together, and that way they can share comments and, like I said, feed off each other. Because what makes one say one, it's like brainstorming. Well, some person might say something you might think is stupid, but somebody else, it inspires somebody else to ask a question. So
Right.
so whenever you do that, it's always better to have groups, like that.
Okay. Other questions?
No, but I can piggyback off of what you guys are saying. What we do in my company is each department does their own, and then we each send a representative to do like a big meeting, and then that's where they bring all of the department SWOTs individually, and they pick the best kind of stuff in that meeting, like collaborate again, but cross.
How big is the company?
I don't know, how big are we now, like 5,000, something like that, not that big. Not that
Okay.
big, I would say, but it's pretty nice, because that way we each kind of get to say something, and then it goes up to like the big meeting to decide on what the strategic goals will be for next year. So we do it once a year, and then we'll do it in pieces, so just like, okay, individual department, you do yours, and then send somebody to this meeting that's gonna bring your SWOT and then present it there, and they kind of start building on it, so.
Okay, but when you have all the representatives from each one of the groups.
They
Yeah.
go through and show each department.
And that works, that's fine, because obviously if you're gonna do a SWOT workshop, you can't have like 40 or 80, 60 people in there. So if you can break it down and have them work within their own. The main thing is when each one of them is working on their own, have the open mind, to look, it's like brainstorming. There's no bad ideas, it's like, see what you can build on everybody else, and then move it up. Okay, that works. Yeah.
Anyone else?
Hi, this is Michonne. So I have a question about the Motorola case.
Okay, Michelle.
So with the SWOT, is it that they did not do a SWOT, or did they do a SWOT that kind of suited their agenda, like the confirmation bias, as you said?
This is with regard to which?
The first one, the SWOT was
Motorola.
actually done. The second one, the SWOT was not done.
Yeah, the one that Motorola, there's a difference between Motorola paging was actually more adept from a business standpoint, because when we started, we had to compete against various competitors. And actually Motorola sent all of their senior management at one time with general manager of the paging organization. So all the CEOs of the company all came up through the paging because we applied advanced business techniques. Unfortunately, the people in cellular, because they were first to market with the cellular, they started off with massive market share, and they never used a lot of these practices because they thought they didn't have to, because they had such a large market share. And that's why some of the decisions, were so, like when they said we didn't have to listen to our customer and stuff, they had very poor business practices. So they should have run, if they were doing things properly, they should have run a SWOT analysis, but they didn't. And as a result, pretty much the company went under because of it.
Okay, thank you.
What was there? Oh, Margaret, yeah, go ahead.
Phil, I just wanted to ask, hopefully you can hear me, but I wanted
Yes.
to ask from a standpoint from the SWOT versus an FMEA. Would you do a SWOT first, or would it be, just jumping into an FMEA? I notice your examples are from, you know, the various industry, but I work in biomedical, and I was just curious on that.
I would look at possibly, they're actually kind of not, the SWOT is more strategic or management related. The FMEA is more root cause analysis kind of basis. I mean, nothing says that you couldn't do a SWOT first and then you remember how I went through the SWOT for the testing for Motorola paging? And then
Correct.
after we did the SWOT, then there was all sorts of analysis that we did afterwards.
Right.
There's no reason why you couldn't done a SWOT analysis first, and then when you're doing the analysis of how you're going to address that you might be able to possibly use FMEA during that. It all depends on the application. But the two don't really have any connection to each other, but that doesn't mean that you couldn't use it as a solution for one. But it wouldn't have to be connected.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
That's the end of tonight's event. I want to thank everyone for being here, but I want to especially thank Bob for being here with us.
Oh, I got
yeah. So we do appreciate all that information about SWOT. It gave me some different perspectives on some of the elements of the SWOT.
Well, the nice thing is if you bring in real case studies, especially if you find some which were successful and some that were just the opposite.
Yeah.
And you seeing the two different sides shows how it can actually be utilized. So.
Okay, well, thank you.